everybody. Welcome back to the London's Brewing Co-op podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Patrick Briggs, and I'm here with my co-host, first of all,
Aaron Briggs. Woo!
We are sitting down with another fantastic guest tonight. This is an episode that we've been working to get done for a long time, so we're very excited to have our guest here. She's the marketing and administration manager and one of the worker owners now of London Brewing Co-op. Please welcome Emma Maganja. How are you doing today, Emma? How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you guys for having me. I'm very excited. Yeah.
Well, Emma, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. Like we said, I guess we said before the podcast started, we're big fans of the London Brewing Co-op, regulars there. So could we just go right back to the beginning? Do you know kind of how London Brewing Co-op got started?
Yeah, so it was a little while before I got involved. I got involved in 2018, but it started, well before we were a real company, with a couple of our founding members who started home brewing out of their garage. It became a more time-consuming hobby, I guess, and they thought, hey, we could actually, kind of make something professional out of this. Two of our founding members, three of them were involved in the Root Cellar as well on Dundas, that awesome little restaurant. And they decided to move into the back of that restaurant, started brewing on a very tiny 2-barrel system, which is about keg or so at a time, or a couple kegs at a time. They started doing pop-up shops once a month out of there, selling beer to go and growlers. Obviously the Root Cellar is their first licensee and started pouring on taps there. And then we moved into our current space in 2017 and have kind of grown into it. And then I guess the rest is history. Got into the LCBO the year following, and just started growing from there.
And you guys are called the London Brewing Co-op. For those who don't know, could you kind of explain what a co-op is and why London Brewing Co-op decided to use this kind of model of business?
Mm-hmm. So it's a really different way to do business. There's different ways that you can be a cooperative. We're a workers cooperative, and sort of the long and short of it is to be an owner, serve on the board, and sort of contribute in that way and have a say in the governance of the business. You actually do have to work and put in regular hours. So it looks different for a bunch of the owners. Several of us do work on site quite often. Some of us sort of work more occasionally, but we do have a minimum number of hours that we have to work. It's open to anybody. So we added 2 new members, myself included, last year. But everybody, when they are hired on to be an employee of the brewery, has the opportunity to join. That's one of the principles of cooperative business is open and voluntary membership. So it's not a requirement of your employment there, but after 2,000 hours of work and a small monetary buy-in, you can become an owner and serve on the board, and it's 1 person, 1 vote. So when I started working there, I thought that a cooperative brewery meant that a bunch of different people could come and make beer there, and quickly learned that it 100% was not what it was. And we still get that question a lot, and I'm like, no, but I can see why you think that, because that's why I thought that. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll come and make a beer here. I had no idea how to make a beer. But that is sort of how we operate our business. So it's not exclusive to, breweries to be able to do this. It's actually kind of rare to be a cooperative brewery. There's only one other one in Ontario. But we just think it's a more democratic way to run the business. This way, profits sort of get either reinvested directly back to workers or back into the business, and you get a lot of investment out of the workers that way. Where we're all sort of invested in obviously the success, but to even as like a more permanent, like full-time employee like myself, like it's, you certainly feel that level of like commitment, from a business standpoint, and from sort of like a human standpoint, it's just a much more fair and democratic way to do business. Yeah, that was a really long answer, but you can, there's a lot to talk about there. Yeah.
We
Said
were
recently. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Aaron.
No, I was just gonna say, talking about co-ops, we were lucky. We went to like a cooperative young leaders camp growing up, so we learned all about co-ops, like literally in a camp setting. So I feel like we grew up understanding the importance of like the co-op and why it's a
Right.
good business model.
For sure. And I think it's like once you start learning about it, it's a little more common than you think. And, um,
Mhm.
you might have like actually interacted with a cooperative, like not realizing it. But I think it's a great way for people to organize, and um, even like the consumer to get more out of it as well. Right. So, yeah,
Mhm. You said too recently that you decided to buy in as well. So you
I
are like
did.
a work owner as well. You feel like that was a good choice?
I do. Yeah. I mean, it was sort of, it was always something that was interesting to me starting there. When I started, I was new to London, just kind of looking for something part-time. I was also in school at the time, so I was just sort of looking for something to do here and there, and started just in the tap room behind the bar. Honestly, I like jokingly say I got my job there because I just wouldn't leave, and I just kept hanging out there. But that's 100% what happened, and kind of endeared myself to some of the staff, and um, got an interview somehow. And it was always an attractive component to me, but I didn't know if that, um, how long it would take me to build up those hours. But I did get the opportunity to become assistant manager about a year in, and then it was always the logical next step to me. As soon as I was there full time, and then like mid last year, became the marketing and admin manager, and it was sort of like a shit or get off the pot moment for me, like it was like show that you're committed, and I was committed, and I was working really hard to like further this business. So I think it's just more of a show of my commitment and like my investment in the company, and also the company's investment back to me. um as soon as I became a worker owner, I was immediately, and I literally mean 5 minutes later, because I attended their AGM and was voted in as a member, and then was immediately voted onto the board of directors. So like those are very high level decisions made by people who have been there since, before it was a company, when it was just an idea. And I'm being listened to on the same level, and I have the same, um, my vote holds the same power, and I can kind of hold the floor for that. So that shows a lot of investment in me back from the company. So yeah, it was a big step, and it was it was funny after all that time, like sort of 3 years working there. Just a random Tuesday morning, you just get voted in, and then you own a brewery. So yeah, it was yeah, it was a big day.
Big yeah, big that's really cool, the story, the trajectory there. Like so it's not something that you anticipated, but it's definitely something that you're pleased about now in the end result. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah. And it was brought up like right in my first interview, like, we're a cooperative, this is what that means, and you, as much as anybody, have a chance to do that. So it's any labor counts towards that 2,000 hour threshold, right? So that's sort of the interesting part about being um in our industry as a cooperative, is it's you know, working in a brewery, or, any kind of service industry job like that, could be a little bit more precarious, a little bit more part-time, and you do see a lot of turnover there. But for us, like down the line, we likely will have owners who are, part-time servers and then serve on the board. So it's sort of, those are important jobs. Like we can't do it without them. So it's giving more weight um, to sort of that work that's being done that could be sort of overlooked somewhere else.
Totally. It's like, just like when you said that, like someone like serving, it's such an important thing, and they're kind of on the floor, they see the day to day, what it looks like. So being able to voice their opinion and have that kind of vote is very important, because in a lot of businesses, it's just managers making the choices and they don't really know the day to day of what it's like.
Yeah, it's like, it's such an asset to the business to have the governments or like the governance of the business have insight into each piece of the business. Like sort of like I do some front of house stuff and the marketing and a lot with the like external events, things like that. And then the president of the board and one of our founders, Aaron, is our head brewer. And then another board member, Jeff, he deals with external sales. And then there's David, another one of the founders, who works on some of the regulatory pieces. So it's sort of bringing expertise from everywhere, but we're all like very, close to the front line. So it brings a lot of insight, I think. And I'm excited to have other members that are more front facing as well, because it's definitely a unique perspective.
So let's get into the good stuff. Let's talk about the beers. It's the Brewing Co-op.
Yeah.
We got the great beers. I'm a big beer fan. So a big thing that I noticed when doing the research was many of your beers are organic. Why?
Yeah.
Like, how did you guys get, I saw it was like one of the only breweries that has organic certification. Why is this
Sure
important?
is.
How did that get started?
So they were actually brewing with local ingredients and organic ingredients before we ever had an organic certification. That actually, I think that only took effect in, oh my gosh, don't quote me on this, because it was like it was a long process between the like, oh, you've been accepted and then here's your stamp and here you can actually start putting the word organic on your cans. But that was late 2019, but we've been using organic ingredients the entire time. So the focus was on local ingredients as well, and we were able to find a lot of local producers that were growing organic ingredients, and they're better for the planet, and they're being grown under fair conditions to the farmers, and their farmers are being compensated fairly for those things. That's especially easier to certify when you're sourcing very locally. So that was always one of the major tenets of what they wanted to do. Was they wanted to have a craft brewery, but it was really built on those kind of values and sustainability first. So nearly everything we have now is certified organic, not 100% of it. Everything that you'd find in the LCBO is certified organic, but there is local and organic ingredients in absolutely everything we have. So I always say, like, Aaron just made it super hard on himself to make beer, because it's, local grains are slightly like less predictable, especially because they're coming from, smaller farms. They're super high quality, but you get a lot more variety within them. So I think he found the hardest but probably best way to make beer and just went with it. So yeah.
Sometimes the hard way is the best way.
Sure is. Yeah, it is the expensive way too. Those expensive, organic anything is a little pricier, but you definitely get out what you put in. They're incredibly high quality ingredients, and supporting the local agricultural system is really important to us. So, but yeah, they were brewing basically completely organic beer without being allowed to put the stamp on it, because it is such a process. I can't speak too much to the process because I wasn't involved in that, thank God, because it sounded like a lot of back and forth and a lot of tracking lots and a lot of labeling things, and sounded like a nightmare. But before we had the organic certification, they were brewing organic beer without being able to call it that. So again, a very difficult and expensive way to make beer, but it pays off because we are now one of only 2 certified organic craft breweries in Ontario.
So there must be the customer base must take note then. If you're feeling like if it's worthwhile, right? People must come up to you and ask questions about this and talk about how cool it is, to everybody when they're here, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think organic is a big pull. We do tend to have a customer base that really cares about where their food and their beer is coming from. As somebody who kind of works with the public a lot and is doing those like face-to-face conversations, I think what really resonates with people especially is the local component as well. Like we can name exactly where this malt came from, or one of my favorite beers is the oatmeal stout. Like the oatmeal's from that Arbor flour mill that we go and just pick it up. So that really resonates with folks as well. But it's definitely, I don't want to say it's a selling point because it's so much more important than that, but it's a great selling point, and I think it really resonates with people who are becoming really aware of sustainability and where things that you're consuming are coming from. Very important. So yeah.
You just kind of touched on it, but I have to, I don't know if it's the same answer. You said one of your favorites is the oatmeal stout. What is your one personal favorite beer that your go-to?
It is the oatmeal stout.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 4 p.m. sunset organic oatmeal stout. Gotta put the whole name in there. I think it's still kicking for the last couple weeks of the winter season at the LCBO, and then we still have it in. But I think it is the best beer we make. That's what got me into beer, was dark beer, and it's the darkest and richest of the rich dark beers. So it's really good.
And if someone was visiting the brewery for the first time, what beer would you recommend that beer to try first, or is there a different one that's, if they're going to check it out, what they should try?
I think I'd work my way up to it, just because it's so rich. I kind of like to end with beers like that. There's definitely staples, and then there's some fun seasonal stuff. So if it's your first visit, I would say go for the sample size. We started doing 6-ounce sample pours, so you can kind of try everything. And then I'd ask your server for their favorite. Maybe start with something a little lighter. I really like the Front Porch as well. The hazy IPA is up there. And then the oatmeal stout, if it's on tap, I would get it. I always recommend the coconut brown too to new customers because it's so unique. But I would start with some sample pours. But if it's on, I would highly recommend trying it because it's like my favorite, maybe top 5 beers I've ever had in the world. Actually, definitely top 5. So easy to say about your own brewery, but it definitely is.
Mm-hmm. I almost want to be there right now, sipping on a beer. We are.
Me too. It's open for 43 more minutes tonight, so
rush over.
Let's go.
Close the laptop. Let's get going. No, gotta keep going here. The London Brewing Co-op has been doing collaboration brews for a while, which is really cool. And most recently, you've done a beer with the London Nationals hockey team.
Right.
You've also labels by local artists and Friday Night Live beer with the bands that have performed. How do these collaborations come together?
So this is actually something I've taken over in the last couple months as one of my sort of marketing endeavors. It's a really like sort of mutually beneficial way to market for both entities, like whether it's a team or a charitable organization or an event that we're partnering with. It's a great way for them to get exposure for their organization and for us to get exposure to, you know, their communities as well. So, and it's it really feels like we're building the community up and like sort of creating more bonds there. They come about naturally a lot of the time. We'll either just sort of be chatting to somebody in the community, or we'll reach out to a cause that's really near and dear to us, or we'll get approached and asked to do one of these collaborations. We have a couple coming up that are actually like repeat collabs with us. So we have the London Artist Studio tour that we're doing for the second time. We'd been involved with like the tour in the past, but we did the beer last fall, and they provided us like 12 really gorgeous pieces of artwork to put on the cans. So we'll be doing that again around the end of the month, probably launching like the first week of April. And then also Bird Friendly London approached us last fall as well, and we did a really tasty beer with Saskatoon berries to celebrate the cardinal being named London's city bird, and had a beautiful cardinal on the label. But yeah, they come about in all sorts of ways, but it's usually very organic, and all of like the sort of organizations and causes seem to really mesh with our values, and seem to be people that, except for the bird one, I'm terrified of birds, but I appreciate what they're doing. So yeah. But we seem to, it really seems to come together, you know, through friends, through family, through colleagues, and people we know, and causes that are really important to us. I do have one coming up that I sort of chase down because I'm obsessed with what they do, and that is Reforest London. I don't know if I think I'm allowed to talk about that. Yeah. There's no secrets there. So that will be one in the early fall, and I just personally love what they do so much. And that was sort of one that I was just like, oh, if I could get an organization to work with us and to equally think we're as cool as I think they are, that would be them. Because I had 0 trees at my house when I moved in, and now I have like 7 thanks to them. And they'll be celebrating like their million, or halfway to their million tree mark this summer. So yeah, so these things, they just come about, and it's one of the most enjoyable parts of the job for sure, is putting that together and just sort of making new connections in the community and helping out things that we really believe in. So yeah, makes for cool beer labels too. They're always really cool. So
all right, I gotta say something now. It's great to know that you're the person to talk to, because I've wanted to do a collaboration beer. I'm putting you on the spot here.
Oh my gosh.
Forever. My boyfriend has been on like 5 different beer labels in the past with his bands, and it's starting to annoy me. I need to be on one. So
yeah, you do. I like that. Okay, you have my email now, so you know we'll talk about it.
Talking to the right person.
Yeah. Yeah, my goal this year is to do 1 a month, so I got spots.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I might actually surpass that. I think we're gonna surpass it this year. We team up with like Backroads, the Hop Farm, and the very fancy shoe store / cafe. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but we've teamed up with them on a bunch of beers because they grow really fantastic hops. So I think we're gonna make it past 12 this year for sure.
Nice.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. So can it's not like anybody can do this then, you're not just like, Dan's, brew or something,
Yeah.
or Aaron's brew or something.
Right.
It's kind of got to be something that you also, believe in and want to support as well,
Yeah.
right? It's
I mean,
kind of
I
got to
would,
be a bit of a community.
yeah, I would do it for Aaron for sure. But no much, to the disappointment of my husband and his buddies that just wanted to, put their face on a beer can. It's not just anybody, but um, I would say, like, yeah, if you run some kind of organization, and just reach out, because we can sometimes make something work. But yeah, we look for things that sort of align with us, and definitely do our vetting before we put something on a can. But yeah.
Do you have a favorite collaboration that you've worked on in the past?
Hmm. I don't know. I've been really impressed and really happy with how they've all turned out. Funnily enough, I do think that, like bird friendly was one of my favorite cans, even though I am a little afraid of birds. It was a beautiful can, and it was a really successful launch. Um, the Nationals have been great to partner with too. And I really do like hockey, and I am a Leafs fan, and their logo looks like a Leaf, so it's really nice to have a can that looks like that. Um, I can't choose. They're really good organizations. We did some with the Dad Club London over the last couple of years, in conjunction for like Father's Day. That was really cool. Yeah, no, I can't choose. I'm sure it will change as they keep going too. Oh, we did one with the Anglers Association, and I thought that was one of the coolest labels we ever did. It was like a fishing theme label, but they deal with like
Cool.
conservation and the rivers and um, the fish populations, things like that. Very cool. Yeah.
I have one more question about the collaborations before we move on to the next subject. Do
Yeah.
you pick the beer ahead of time? Like, do you have a beer ready? Like when the collaborators come in, you're like, oh, like red ale, that'll be perfect for you guys. Or is it
Yeah.
more they are like, no, it's got to be an IPA. Thank you very much. That kind of thing.
Sometimes people come in with like really clear ideas of a beer style, which is always super impressive. Sometimes things just fit into the production schedule. We usually like, I don't know if we've ever just straight up chosen anything for somebody. It's usually like a very collaborative process. But there's definitely times where something, the timing will work out, and we'll have some things sort of coming off the schedule. Like last fall we did a collaboration for Remembrance Day, with actually a former employee of On the Move, who's like a sister-ish kind of company to us. And he was a veteran, and hooked us up with two really great organizations that partners with veterans and sort of help them in their transition back to civilian life, and got them involved in new careers and some like recreational stuff. And yeah, that was a really good one, but it fell at the same time as the red ale, which went really beautifully with poppy on the label. So things just sort of work out at that time. And yeah, this is a non-answer, but yeah, sometimes we make a beer just for that, like the Saskatoon berry one for Bird Friendly London. And then sometimes it just sort of fits into the schedule. Sometimes people say, up to you, and we figure it out. So yeah, usually we go with a little bit more of an approachable style for collaborations. And then some people are open to some super funky stuff too, which is always good. But yeah.
Very cool.
We love to see the collaboration. You had kind of mentioned earlier about the importance of sustainability in the brewery. I recently saw on Instagram the post about how you guys use 40% less water in the brewing process than the industry standard. So
Yeah.
how are you guys able to do this, and what are some other practices that LBC does for the environment and sustainability?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, making beer takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of water. Um, Most of the things that we do are very mundane, very small, practical steps that really help a lot. Um, like the water one in particular, we just have flow meters on our taps that we use for, filling buckets, and when they're cleaning the tanks out after a brew, they just keep an eye on their water consumption. Some of it's just behavioral, like we have a very high pressure hose that you need to use to clean up after the brewing process, and it's really easy to just spray everything into the drain. But if you don't use it like a broom and just kind of use the squeegee instead, that saves a whole bunch of water. um, During the brewing process, Aaron's going to listen back to, our brewer's going to listen back to this and be like, you butchered the process. But after the brew, they circulate cold water to sort of like cool the boiled wort down. That water is then warm after it's obviously absorbing the heat from the wort. It gets pumped into another tank, and then that water is recycled in the next brew when you do want warm water because you're boiling it. So little things like that. A lot of things with just reusing. We did a big reno in January, and to, well, partly cut some costs and then also reuse some things. Like we were able to cut our tables down, plane the wood, and rebuild them out of the same things. And those original tables had been pallets before, so they're kind of on their third life. Um, like some usage things with, we have a huge building to sort of heat and cool and take care of. Our patio at the back, during COVID, we realized it was really important to have a weatherproof patio because we didn't know where restrictions were going, when we were going to be limited to outdoor dining. And we installed electric patio heaters that are much easier on the environment than gas counterparts. They are a little bit more expensive, but they can be run off of a green energy source and not natural gas. But those are like, they're programmed, so they only run for a certain amount of time. They don't come on once the air temperature is above a certain temperature, and they're actually controlled by the user, so they're controlled by customers. So they're only on when they have to be on, and it's not up to staff to run out and turn heaters off, because I assure you, especially on my part, I would forget and they would stay on much longer than they need to. So yeah, it's really small, like just like day-to-day practices like that, along with sourcing things locally, and they're not being shipped overseas, they're being shipped from Guelph. So that's a huge part. And the definitely sourcing organic ingredients helps as well. They're grown in a sustainable way by sustainably minded people, and on smaller scales. So it's kind of built into every little thing. But a lot of our decisions, that's sort of where it starts.
It's always great to hear businesses are doing good things for the environment. And speaking of good things, sorry, it's my segue. You are also an official Ontario Living Wage Network employer. How
we are
doing that, and why is that important for you guys to be certified and all those fun things?
I think it should be sort of looked at as sort of a minimum commitment to your staff, for sure. And we were really inspired by a bunch of other breweries that we admired doing it as well. A lot of businesses are really vocal about becoming a living wage employer, and we make a lot of noise about being a better employer, a better kind of business. And we always say, and we repeat it all the time, that we operate on a triple bottom line. So it's people, and then planet, and then profit. And if we're putting people first above profit, I think it makes sense to do. So Ontario Living Wage Network is very interesting. I would 100% go to their site and look at it and not listen to me about it, because they're they lay it out really nicely on their site. But basically what it is they calculate what the minimum wage to sort of live and participate in your community is, and they do that like per region. And you, as part of the network, you commit to pay that as your business's minimum wage instead of the provincial minimum wage. So everybody who works for us in any capacity will be paid at least that much. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that.
It's pretty cool. I think it's a good place to start.
Mm-hmm. I want all businesses to be like that. That would be amazing.
Yeah. It would be nice if they just, kind of set that as the provincial minimum wage, but I'm not holding my breath. So, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that new recent raise, and that was not enough, But we
No.
won't do that at this
Yeah.
in this podcast. There are a bunch of fantastic events that happen all the time at the London Brewing Co-op. As mentioned before the podcast started, Aaron and I are regulars at London Brewing Co-op. Aaron loves to go to the Friday night music nights. What's the title of that again? Is it Friday Night Live?
It's Friday Night Live. Yeah.
That's right. I didn't want to misquote. But there's also euchre nights, there's trivia nights, there's pop-up shops that you guys have had out in the front area there. And like I mentioned, the music events that you have weekly, like not only the Friday Night Live, but there's like Sunday Aftertunes, and you just use stage for the performances. Can you tell us a little bit about like all the events that you run? And like it's obviously a big part of the London Brewing Co-op.
I think we owe a lot of our success to the music community and sort of the music program, getting people in the door and, becoming fans of the brewery after. So we have an amazing music curator. His name's Jim McDonald. He's also a local musician and sort of infamous in OEV. I think everybody knows him. But he does an incredible job of finding local talent. He got FNL running in 2018, and it was, just a huge success. And we've been able to kind of carry it on even through the pandemic. We went online with it. It was the first event that we did as soon as we were allowed live music. Even when we had to have, people 6 feet apart seated listening to music, it was important to bring it back. But I think that is really brought a lot of people from a ton of different walks of life out to the brewery, made it a fun place to be. Everything really stemmed from there. And then Sunday Acoustic Aftertunes, we get approached by a lot of like singer-songwriters and acoustic artists who might be suited for like a more chill afternoon. So that's been going really well as well. That's every Sunday from 1 to 3 now. It's a really nice, way to end the weekend. Friday Night Live is definitely a good way to like get hyped up for the weekend. It's a lot of fun. And then events are really, they're coming back. So over the last month, we just reintroduced our euchre tournament for the first time, like for real. We did it online for a while, in 2 whole years. So that's really exciting. We had like very dedicated people playing. So it was really nice to see everybody again, and that's back. Trivia should be back by the end of the month. But I think it's, there's a lot of craft breweries out there. So I think it's a way to stand out. It's definitely a way to like develop your community and connect with your customers more, give people something, other to do than sit there and drink beer, which I'm very happy to just sit there and drink beer. But it's, we're really lucky in London too, to have a lot of great musicians and a ton of great artists. And when I moved here, I was like so impressed by the music scene, and I'd never seen something quite that strong in, a mid-sized city before. So I think a ton of success of the tap room is due to that music program.
And you kept it going through COVID with shows on the patio as well.
We did. Yeah, that was actually a ton of fun. We had some really amazing shows. Thankfully, with like the, the province and the city allowed us to extend our patio into our front parking lot the last 2 summers. And it was, once we opened the garage doors up and got it going, it felt like a festival, like every weekend. It was a good time. I'm sure you guys were there, and it was a really fun time. So
Yeah, I hope to keep that going this summer, even with restrictions being lifted, because that was
yeah,
just way too fun.
so fun. Yeah, it's going to be another good summer with music out there. And our neighbors don't mind us too much. We have really nice neighbors, so
Thank goodness. Speaking of, how do bands get involved if they, or how do they get chosen to perform, because I'm sure there's lots of people, trying to get the opportunity to get involved in Friday Night Live.
For sure. Yeah, we get people reaching out in all kinds of ways. But they all just go through Jim, who does a really great job of scheduling those things and making sure we have sort of like a diverse lineup. We have like lots of different kinds of music. We have solo acts, we have huge bands, we have everything from like country to R&B to old fashioned rock and roll. I like to call it like dad rock. Those are good nights when we have like dad rock band. But yeah, I just go through our music curator, Jem, and he has a lot of connections and people that we call out to. But he gets approached a lot too. So yeah.
Awesome.
So this episode's coming out in a couple weeks. So on March 24th, is there anything that our listeners after March 24th, is there anything that people should be putting in their calendars, events that they should be watching out for?
There sure is. March 24th is, wait, I think that might be the day. Is that a Saturday or is that?
It's a Friday.
The Friday. Okay. Because oh no, I lied. That's the next month. But April 9th is going to be the most fun. Our drag show is coming back. We always do one around Christmas, but I have so much fun that I begged the queens to come back. It wasn't too much begging. They're lovely people. But we're gonna have a drag show for the first time on the new stage on April 9th. It's free admission, but tip your queens and come like ready to laugh and party and cheer. It's like the best time ever. And it's organized by Miss Shanine and Lita Von Sleeves and Sloppy Joe. It's my favorite drag queen name of all time. They're gonna come out and do a show, and we'll have some great beers and some great food going. April 23rd, just 2 weekends after that, we have Maddie Leone's like touring. We've been trying to book some more acts on Saturdays. And then May, it starts getting really crazy. We were doing a couple of events the first 2 weekends of May with Heatwave Expo, the Hot Sauce Expo. So we're gonna have like hot wings and music and hot wing eating contests, which scare me a little. The last time they did an event at the brewery in 2019, I ate a Carolina Reaper pepper, so I might do something stupid like that again. So it's probably something good to come watch. Yeah, tons of stuff. We got stuff with, pardon?
I was just saying that's terrifying. I'm a fan of that Hot Ones show, so I've seen people eat, and we had a guest on a past guest who is a hot sauce enthusiast, you might say, and just the idea of eating that, like, I don't know how did you handle that? That's crazy.
I didn't eat a lot of it. I had like a bite, and I was expecting it to go like right up my nose, but like no, like your entire chest and body just feels like it's on fire.
Oh.
It wasn't like bad unpleasant, but it was like really intense. It was just like, maybe I was just in shock. Maybe like my brain was just trying to protect me, or like, when you go through like a really painful experience, you like forget it. Maybe that's what happened, but no, it wasn't like fun. Yeah. But
yeah, lots of great events coming up. So everyone should be
so
marking
much.
calendars. I'm excited for that drag show. I'll definitely be there. So
Yeah. And then if you can't make it out on Saturdays, like Wednesday euchre tournaments are the best. And then we're gonna start trivia again every other Thursday. So just check our Instagram or our Facebook. Also subscribe to our newsletter. I'll throw it in there. But yeah, it's there's gonna be something all the time, at least 4 nights a week. So yeah.
So if you show up at any time, likely something cool will be going on.
And if it's not, there's like 14 beers on tap right now. So that's pretty cool too.
Other than London Brewing Co-op, what do you have a other favorite local brewery?
I do. I am over at Anderson a lot because it's, around the corner and there's such great people. The food's amazing and the beer is awesome. Big fan of Beer Lab as well. Nick is a genius, so is Adil. The owners there, they're doing some really interesting stuff. But I do have a soft spot for Anderson. It was the first brewery I ever went to in London. So yeah.
I love that. Those are great choices.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not really a bad choice in London.
True.
So yeah. I went out to Curly in Hyde Park a couple months ago with my friend, and I I live in the East End, so the literal opposite end of the city for me, but we made the trek out and we had a really nice time there too. Very cute shop. So.
Yeah, we're very lucky in London to have so many great local breweries.
For sure. Yeah, I think we're up to 8 or something.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, I think like London's big time because I'm from Brantford. So, but even Brantford has 3. So,
Well, there's just lots of great breweries opening up all over the place, but this is the hub.
Yeah.
This is the hub.
Yeah, but like the best ones are in London.
Yeah. For sure. So before we get into some more London-based questions, could you let our listeners know more about how they can find more about London Brewing Co-op, where you guys are located, kind of your hours, social media handles, all those things?
Yeah, so we are at 521 Burbrook Place. It's gonna tell everybody. I get more than one phone call a week about where are you, but it's gonna look like you're going the wrong way. We're at the corner of Burbrook and Princess. It's an industrial building, but you'll see the sign, and it's a lot cooler once you get inside. In the middle of what I think the best neighborhood in the world, Old East Village, and we're open right now. We're open Tuesday to Sunday. Tuesday to Thursday we're open 12 to 9. Fridays we're open till 11. Saturdays are 11 to 9. These change a lot, especially with COVID. So I'm trying to get these right. And then Sundays 12 to 6. And then you can just find us under London Brewing on Facebook and London Brewing CA on Instagram. We're also in 100 LCBOs province-wide, so chances are we're in something near you. And then if all else fails, our website, we ship province-wide as well. And we're still doing local London delivery 3 days a week. So yeah. Sorry, 2 days
All
a week
over.
now. It's a lot we're everywhere. There's no excuse not to drink our beer. Yeah, so there's some way to get it, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. No excuse. London Brewing Co-op is worldwide. Worldwide London Brewing Co-op.
Yeah.
But to bring it back,
Ontario, but close enough.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. But to bring it back to London, because we are the London's Pretty Cool podcast, we wanted to ask you some London-based questions for you. So
yeah.
You may have already mentioned, I don't know if you've half answered this question, but where is your favorite place to eat in the city?
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is going to be a long answer. Number 1 is Vietnam, on the corner of Burbrook and Dundas. Not just because it's so close to the brewery, but it was the first restaurant I ever went to in London. My husband's been going there since he was a kid, and he walked in He took me in the back door and said, "Oh, you have to know the knock." And he did like a fake knock, but it's totally just a public entrance. But it's owned by like the nicest people in the world, and they just run an amazing business, and the food is so good. I'm there at least once a week, so that's probably my number one. There's a really great Indian place that just opened up on the corner of my street. It's on Hamilton Road. It's called Kother. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I love that one as well. Milosh downtown obviously for the beer list, but also the food's amazing. Yeah. Oh, I have to. My Sunday place. I go and eat like way more pupusas than anybody should before noon. But True Taco in the Western Fair. It's also owned by the lovely Joe, who's my friend, so I have to call it out. But I really just I love it so much. I have taken so many people there and like made them get up early and go on a Sunday morning because it's just the breakfast is amazing. But like the pupusas are next level. Yeah, True Taco. It's like right inside the door at Western Fair.
Sure,
Farmers
for me.
Market. Yeah,
Definitely.
it's amazing. It's really good food.
So some great spots. Got to check them out. This one you
Yeah.
kind of already answered. So, but what is your favorite neighborhood in the city?
I think it's Old East. I lie a little bit and pretend I live in Old East. I live a few blocks outside, but I love Old East. It really is super charming. It's got such a community feel. People really care about each other and know each other. I technically live in Hamilton Road, and it is awesome as well. People are really caring. I know more of my neighbors on my street that I've lived on for like just under 4 years than I ever did, on a suburban street in, I don't want to talk bad about Brantford, but it was in Brantford. So, I didn't know my neighbors as much, people kind of just drove home and went in their garage and went about their lives. And on my street, I know everybody. We know each other's names and our dogs' names, and you definitely get that in East London. So it's a really cool city, and definitely has like a neighborhood feel. I feel like the neighborhood identity is very strong here. I'm not even sure I ever knew the name of my neighborhood before I moved to London, but here it's like every neighborhood's kind of got its own personality, and people really care about each other. It's really nice to see, like within a day of moving over here, I had several people who had lived on my street for ages coming over and telling me like, oh, stay away from that guy, but I'll come and shovel for you, and like stuff like that. So like, yeah, he just it's nice to see. It's really nice to see. I didn't know that like neighborhoods like that still existed, so it's awesome.
Communities in the city. I love that. I
Yeah.
love to hear that. That's so awesome.
Yeah, I think yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I lost my train of thought a little bit. But yeah, no, I think like it I don't know if it's super unique to London, but it feels pretty unique that it's really got such distinct neighborhoods and people are really proud of them.
It is the city of neighborhoods, right?
Yeah.
Now, what is a London small business that you couldn't live without?
Oh. I mean, I guess London Brewing, because I do need to pay my bills. No. Oh boy. Oh, this is like, there's a lot. There's a lot. For sure, Vietnam, because that's my dinner many nights a week. A lot of little businesses in like the Western Fair Market. Piping Kettle, the soup place, because that's my, yeah. Fire roasted coffee. That's why I'm awake most days. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great businesses.
Yeah.
Goodness, I was just at the Western Fair this past weekend for the first time in like a few weeks, and it was like, oh yes, this is nice.
It's got such a nice vibe, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? One of my favorite ones, the upstairs at Western Fair, Woolly Maple. She makes the best scrunchies, and they actually hold my hair up. Yeah, that's a big one. That saves my hair every day. So.
If you were to have a perfect day in London, what would it entail?
Ooh, this is a good question, guys. I think I would start at the market because I love doing that. Um, get like my fresh produce and pupusas, and then I usually go with the best intentions that I'm gonna buy some really healthy stuff, and then I lose track of time, go upstairs and buy more scrunchies and things like that. um, and then I'd probably take my dog for a walk along the river. I live pretty close to St. Julian Park, and I actually had no idea it was here until like a few months into living where I do live. And it's beautiful down there. The river's beautiful. There's like the most gorgeous trees. And then, oh, where would I go for lunch? I don't know. I love a good patio, so probably a patio lunch. And I feel like London's got a lot of really great patios. And
Right.
then yeah, oh gosh, I don't know where. I'll patio. And then probably go sit in Victoria Park and like read a book and sit with my dog. I like being outside here. There's a lot of beautiful places to be. Um, yeah, or hiking. There's such great hiking trails here. I really like Cairns Woods, sort of by like Riverbend. And then at night, I try to find some live music. Not at London
Yeah.
Brewing, I guess, but you know, I do end up there a lot. Big fan of Poacher's Arms. I'd probably go in there. There's always something going on.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Nice. That sounds like a great day.
yeah. Or like do the shops downtown. Like I'd like spending money here. So, you know, yeah, but definitely a hike and definitely a market. I feel like
Mhm.
that's where my day would start. So, yeah, my dog has really appreciated the parks here as well.
Oh, I
Even though
bet.
she's a little lazy, but she likes the view.
Likes to see all the grass out there. Absolutely.
Yeah, she likes to lay in the sun basically, but you know,
Mhm.
yeah,
You're like, oh, you don't want to walk anymore? That's cool. Let's lie down
that's
in the
cool.
sun.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. I brought us snacks. Yeah. She's my dog is almost 13. So she's a good walker, but it's not,
Yeah.
you know, we don't try that hard
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
Well, speaking of your dog, is there a hidden gem in the city?
Oh, yeah, I would say like our parks and stuff are for sure. Like there's a lot of natural hidden gems. My friend and I were hiking last winter in Westminster Ponds, and we came over this hill, and there was this tiny little frozen pond, and this family was like ice skating on it, and it was just like a little picture. Like it was a Christmas card. And I was like, wow, like this is off of, you know, Wellington Road and like does not look like anything. And then you go in and it's just like this little magical world. And I think oh, and Meadow Lily for sure as well in East London. That's really close to me. Like I can walk down to those woods. I think there's a lot of natural hidden beauty in London. Um,
Mhm.
and the architecture too. Like if you walk down any street in East London, you will find the cutest old house. I love to go and like snoop on houses. So Yeah, especially in Oldies, there's really beautiful houses everywhere. Um, and yeah, I mean the restaurants are everywhere, but yeah. Yeah, I think that the natural beauty is it's not too hidden, but you know, if you know where to look, it's like breathtaking.
It is one of those things where you can drive by entire sections of like unknown cool nature spots with like your whole life without realizing it.
Yeah. It's crazy. And you go in and you're like, wow, this is absolutely stunning. And it's yeah, you feel like you're nowhere near the city. It's really cool.
Yeah, it always
As
feels like you're just taken away from the city.
Hmm. It's amazing. Yeah.
I was gonna say
I
too,
gotta
as
say
like
London.
no, sorry, go ahead,
Sorry.
go ahead. Sorry.
No, you first. I
I
feel
was
like I
just gonna
haven't
say,
shut up for an hour.
like as London-born people, like we kind of take it for granted a lot of times, me and Aaron, and it takes people coming from outside the city to help us appreciate it. Like my partner Jill's from
Yeah.
Belleville, and she comes in and like gives us like, oh, I love this about the city. We need to go do this, and all of a sudden you notice things that you don't realize that were so great, kind of thing that you were walking by before.
Yeah. It's I mean I was lucky to come here with like a fresh set of eyes and
That's
see
what I mean.
places.
Yeah.
I have to say London has like really good backyards too. I feel like in the old part like the backyards are beautiful. Yeah. Like you'd go to I've like got a very normal old house and the back of our backyard I feel like I'm camping. Yeah. There's so many trees here. It's like legit the forest city. So yeah, I'm not disillusioned yet, I guess, right? Like we all take for granted where we grow up, but it is a really beautiful place.
Speaking of beautiful, it is that time now in the show for our classic game. It's almost the end of the show, but we've got one more game for you. It's called This
Or that.
That.
It's hard because you see
Now
the
this,
delay when this happens.
yeah, we try and match it up. It's tough, but we work it out. Now, This or That is a classic game here on the London's Pretty Cool podcast. We are going to do a lightning round where we're going to give you two options, and you just got to pick them, and we move on to the next
Okay.
one. There are going to be some tough choices, so do your best to just kind of make the choice and keep moving if you can.
The first
This
one in
is
your
this
head.
is torture for a Libra, you guys. Like we're indecisive. Okay, I will try my best. I was hoping I get to play a game. I feel like a real podcast guest now. This is very cool.
Perfect.
All right. Starting off, maybe easy since we've already talked about it a bunch. Western Fair Market or Covent Garden Market?
Oh, Western Fair, but only because it's closer to my house.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about Sunfest or Home County?
Oh, guys, yeah, we are Sunfest sponsors, so contractually Sunfest. But no, like how do you choose? But yeah, Sunfest is incredible, and the international music is like out of this world. Yeah.
Masonville Mall or White Oaks Mall?
Oh, White Oaks. I was at Masonville yesterday. It was overstimulating. Yeah, easy.
Interesting. That's an interesting note. I haven't been there in a long time. I'll have to see about that. Springbank Park or Gibbons Park?
Springbank.
Fanshawe College or Western University?
Fanshawe, I was very briefly a student. Not because I didn't like it, just circumstances. Yeah, Fanshawe.
Odyssey Records or Grooves Records?
Odyssey all day.
Brown and Dixon or City Lights?
Ooh. City Lights.
Ooh,
Yeah.
almost want to whisper it. Bike the Thames Valley Parkway or hike in one of our environmentally significant areas?
Hikes, for sure.
Fire roasted
Yeah.
coffee or black walnut cafe?
Fire roasted.
And last but not least, Highland Theater or Mustang Drive-In?
Ooh, Highland's really cool. Highland for sure. Yeah, very cute.
You did
Boom!
it.
That was
Congratulations.
hard. That was hard, except for the Masonville question. Like, oh
Yeah.
my God. I don't think I've seen that many people in my entire life as I did yesterday. Yeah.
So crazy. Go there just for the
Yeah.
theater.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's an amazing theater. I mean, yeah, it's got everything. Yeah, but it was a lot.
Well, Emma, that is the end of the episode, end of the game, end of all of our random questions that we have for you throughout this episode. We just really want to take the time to thank you so much for explaining to our listeners the background, the history of London's Brewing Co-op, and all of the incredible events that go on there, all of your history there. Is there anything you want to leave the listeners with, a final message or anything like that?
No, I really appreciate you guys having me, and I hope to see, some more listeners at the brewery very soon. And yeah, thanks for making me feel so welcome in a really cool city. I feel like a true Londoner. So yeah. I'm Emma Maganja. I'm one of the worker owners and the marketing administration manager at London Brewing Co-op, and you're listening to London's Pretty Cool podcast.